Have you ever heard that simply holding a U.S. visa or a green card can open up travel opportunities far beyond America's borders? If you've never thought about it, you might be in for a surprise. For many countries, a valid U.S. tourist visa or a green card is almost a golden ticket, making it much easier to visit, even if you don't have a passport that's considered strong. But why do so many countries trust a U.S. visa or green card? It all comes down to reputation, security, and the rigorous checks that go into getting approved for U.S. entry. Not just anyone gets through. And that already puts you in a club of travelers, seen as lower risk by many destinations around the world. Let's start with an example most travelers love: Mexico. If you hold a valid U.S. visa or are a U.S. permanent resident, you can travel to Mexico without first obtaining a Mexican visa. This exemption applies to many nationalities who'd otherwise have to jump through extra hoops. Just pack your bags, show your U.S. visa at the border, and you're almost certainly in ready for tacos on the beach. Heading south, there's another favorite: Costa Rica. Normally, Costa Rica asks for a visa from many travelers, but flash your valid, multiple-entry U.S. visa or green card, and suddenly, those paradise beaches and rainforests are fair game without any embassy visits. The Caribbean is next. The Dominican Republic, Aruba, and Curacao all allow visitors with valid U.S. visas or green cards to enter visa-free or with an easy on-arrival process. That's sandy beaches, turquoise water, and a fast track through immigration. If you want something a little different, think about Central America. Belize, Guatemala, Honduras, and Panama all let you in visa-free with a U.S. visa or green card. In some places, like Belize, it has to be valid for at least 6 months beyond your date of travel, but the process remains simple. For those who love ancient ruins or adventure in the jungle, the region just got a lot more accessible. Cruising further, we find Colombia on the list. If you have a Schengen or U.S. visa or a U.S. green card, you can skip the traditional visa, explore Bogotá, or the tropical coast hassle-free. Ecuador and Peru offer similar deals with some varying requirements on the visa's validity. But the gateway is wide open for those with US credentials, and it doesn't stop on this side of the Atlantic. Turkey has a famous e-visa system, but here's the trick. Certain passport holders can get the Turkish e-visa solely by showing their valid US or UK visa or a Schengen visa. The same approach is true in Georgia, wedged between Europe and Asia. Georgia welcomes travelers with valid U.S. visas or green cards for up to 90 days within a 180-day period. And you don't have to be a U.S. citizen or American at all. Let's not forget the Balkan nations that have become beloved stops on European itineraries: Serbia, North Macedonia, Montenegro, and Albania permit entry to travelers holding U.S. visas or green cards, often for periods from 15 to 90 days. These are places where medieval fortresses, modern cities, and spectacular landscapes blend seamlessly in. Just having that U.S. visa can get your adventure started. In the Middle East, the United Arab Emirates has a similar arrangement. Indian passport holders with a U.S. visa can obtain a UAE visa on arrival. That means skyscrapers, desert experiences, and futuristic malls are yours with minimum paperwork. And while we're talking about unique combinations, take Egypt. If you're a citizen of India, for example, but you hold a U.S. visa or green card, you can get an Egyptian visa on arrival. Touchdown in Cairo, and the pyramids of Giza are within your reach. Why do these countries operate this way? It's thanks to a principle called visa reliability. Nations trust the security screening conducted by the U.S. government, relying on it as a shortcut for their own entry checks. Of course, they've realized it also makes their own tourism sectors more competitive. Attracting travelers who are likely responsible, have international travel history, and wield some spending power. But there are limits. Always check the official immigration site before you travel. Rules can change with shifting politics, pandemics, or new agreements. Some countries require your U.S. visa or green card to be valid for a certain number of months, or must be multiple entry, not single entry. And some even specify the visa type: tourist, business, or student. Still, the list keeps growing, and as global mobility gets more complicated, these special arrangements prove invaluable. What it means is simple. A U.S. visa or green card (ISNT) just a permit for America. It can be your key to a dozen other nations, unlocking beaches, mountains, cities, and ancient wonders, sometimes with far less red tape than you ever imagined. So if you're sitting on a US visa or green card, take another look at your travel wish list. The world is a lot bigger and a whole lot more accessible than it might seem at first glance. Safe travels.